thankfully, we have someone with us who can call on a lot more personal experience in his role as a co-moderator. Wolf Illner is the Managing Director of Budapest Security Dialogue. BSD is the first congress dedicated to security and defense in Central and Southeastern Europe, and is the partner for conferences in security and defense across the region, not just here in Hungary, but right across Central and Southeastern Europe. He holds a position as a senior military advisor to the Chief of Defense of the Hungarian Defense Forces, and for 3 years was Defense Attaché at the German Embassy in Budapest. Wolf, thank you already for your input. It's been a pleasure to have you on board with us. Perhaps you'd like to take us away with the first question.
Owen, thank you very much for this very kind introduction of myself. Ladies and gentlemen, yeah, let's have a really very interesting morning here in the Dorothea Hotel, talking about defense industry. We just a couple of days after the Munich Security Conference has finished, and one key point was also on this conference: how can Europe enhance their defense capabilities? And one really important part in this is how is Europe able to enhance their own defense industry, which was shrinked over the last 20, 30 years after the fall of the Iron Curtain. And here today we would like to talk a little bit about how defense industry is in Hungary settled up. We had a great program here of the Hungarian government in developing the Hungarian defense industry, and Peter Faragó, he will tell us some information, and that will be my first question to Peter. Please, Peter, what are the reasons for setting up a defense industry in Hungary, and what are the economic and security policy objectives for this in getting the own defense industry here in Hungary? Peter.
Okay, so 3 questions in a row. Let's go one by one. Let's start with a small history lesson. What happened after the regime change? We have seen parallel, both the army and the industry were ramping down continuously until 2014, invasion of Crimea, and European people had to realize humanity is still not a peaceful being. And really wisely, the Hungarian government recognized this also with the German government, and in 2016 initiated the so-called Zrínyi 2026 program. 2 main goals: first, modernization of the army, Hungarian defense forces, and the second, setting up and developing the industry in the background. So I think that's the motivation. Second question, answering the second question, what is the goal? How was it? What is the goal of the? Just to repeat.
The economic and the security policy objectives to set up.
Okay, so security policy. That's the easier for me because I am neither an army man nor a leader of our nations. So only my personal opinion is that to be conform with the NATO standards and supply our allied countries. Coming to economic. Let's go back. So the parallel, army modernization and supply chain or industry development, that's the highest abstraction level. One level beneath, we do not want to simply build up industry, but rather an ecosystem. What I do mean by ecosystem, I could shake hands with Paul and with Joachim, and we could just produce products. But that would be, I don't think, not that wise. We should consider, Hungary should consider the whole ecosystem. So development, education, manufacturing, and then the maintaining and end of life as well, including also the SMEs, the Hungarian suppliers, potential suppliers. Hope I could answer.
That was very good. Thank
Wolf,
you very much.
maybe if I can jump in to what Peter said. I think you explained it very well. The way I always looked at it was that in around 2014, as you mentioned, Hungary had, it was in a not comfortable situation. There was a need to develop their armed forces, to modernize the armed forces. At the same time, there was no defense industry in the country to do it. Hungary was a green field when it comes to the defense industry, and that has roots way before the fall of the Iron Curtain. The distrust of Russia, mainly of Hungary, probably rightly so. Yeah, but this is nothing to be ashamed. It's actually something to be quite proud of. And so the situation was that you need to do something, yet you cannot have national resources to draw upon. So some countries might be frustrated by this, but Hungary saw the opportunity by investing maybe 10%, a little bit more than what is needed just to modernize. They could build up a defense industry. So they turned a pretty sour situation to their advantage. And I think this was a really, really smart choice. It really started in 2017 and 18 to take fruits. And I think Hungary is just about to reap the benefits of those strategic decisions that were taken a couple of years before.
Thank you, Paul. That's a helpful underlying of the fact. So we understand some of the history for why it's coming forward now. Let's try and dig down a little deeper into the actualities of what we're doing here. So this is a question to both yourself, Paul, and to you, Joachim, so that we can hear from all our panelists. Why, in particular, choose Hungary as a strategic partner? We assume we are continually told that it's a competitive world every time the foreign minister stands up to announce a new, and I don't mean this dismissively, but every time he stands up to announce a new investment, he makes the point that Hungary has been up in opposition against other countries. So why, in particular, did your companies select Hungary? Let's start with you, Joachim, since we've not heard from you yet.
I think this is something that goes back to a point that most people will also have heard from the Munich conference on the weekend. So what are you looking for if you go for an investment? It's reliability and support. And I think that answers basically everything. And the efforts here also to get support from the economic and the political side is really great. So that was one of the main reasons.
And Paul?
Well, obviously, I concur. What I would add was when we decided to invest here in Hungary, it was two sides meeting that had goals that are very well aligned. The Hungarian industry or the Hungarian government wanted to beef up and build a national industry from scratch. And Rheinmetall at the same time was looking to expand capacity. And that's when the two interests met, and together with this ecosystem that was about to be created and a chance to help form and shape this industry to this ecosystem to our needs. That was really the situation that we found, and then it's a no-brainer. Yes? When you have a government that is supportive not just by providing funds or by buying equipment, but by also clearly showing you a path where they want to develop universities, technical schools, to help service the need that you have, because we see it today, human capital is crucial to our success. We need to get the people. It's a big fight for talent, a war for talent, as they say, and with a government that thinks that they can use all the levers that they have, all the ways to influence to our advantage, and this is really the advantages that we saw here in Hungary. Yeah.
Just to come back very quickly, Paul. So 2014 is Russia's first invasion of Ukraine. 2016 we have the Shriniary program announced. Where does Rheinmetall fit into that? So when did you begin these conversations? Sorry, not into the geopolitics, but when did you begin having your conversations with the Hungarian government?
our conversations with the Hungarian government started roughly in 2017. When we saw an interest, we had developed a new product, but hadn't set up a new production line for that product, namely the Lynx infantry fighting vehicle. The Hungarians showed interest, and we realized very quickly in those conversations that they also had this interest in building up a national defense industry here in the country, and that's when the matchmaking started. And as I said, this was after a year of negotiations, roughly a year and a half, we quickly realized what the opportunity of not just setting up a facility that is scaled to produce the Lynx, but rather decided to triple that and decide ourselves for a much larger investment, because we saw the need for European allies as well to increase defense spending and the need for these products in the future. And then, and the rest is history, as they say.
And just before I hand back to Wolf, Joachim, when did your company first begin its conversations?
Thank you for the time asking Paul first. I think we started 2019 to 20
Microphone.
to go for 2019 to 20 for the first discussions.
Wolf.
Yes, thank you. So I can remember, because at this time I was a defense attaché at the German embassy, and I was involved in most of these meetings. And what I have to highlight on this too was the relationship between Germany and Hungary at this time. And I remember on the meeting of Prime Minister Orban with Chancellor Dr. Merkel in Berlin in July 2018, where Hungary committed themselves to go for Western-style defense systems and for weapon systems, and mainly for German systems, because one key point was having a big interoperability within the systems in Europe, because Chancellor Merkel at this time mentioned that if she's comparing the different defense systems or tanks and heavy vehicles only in Europe, compare with the US, which has nearly the same amount, then in Europe there were, I think, 5 times, 6 times more different systems which you have to run. And that's one key point too. And that was also the reason that Hungary made the decision for German systems. Not only that they were really, really good, best state of the art in the world, what I can say, but also on the other hand, enhancing the interoperability of the systems. So that was one key point. But coming back to our session here, Peter, so we've heard Hungary is building up the defense industry. What is the current status on, if we are looking on the enhancement or participation within the GDP, the part of the defense industry? What is it currently, and what you are expecting to go for?
Okay, so actually I was expecting this question prepared in advance. So based on our estimation, the contribution last year, 2023, of N7, not the whole industry, N7 was around 0.17-ish%. By 2013, this is going to be increased by 0.28-ish% of the Hungarian GDP. That is based on our internal calculation.
Yeah, because if we look on the summit of Wales 2014, where NATO stated, and that was what Robin mentioned this morning too, that Mr. Trump was reintroducing these 2% of the GDP for defense investments, etc. So Hungary is one of the nations who are fulfilling these requirements, and a lot of other nations have their problems at the moment, and but the change after the attacks of Ukraine in 2022 made really a change also on the mindset. What Chancellor Scholz was saying with Zeitenwende is not only in Germany, it's also in the other countries, and a lot of countries following the example of Hungary.
The key word is following.
Following, yeah.
The key word is following.
because that was what I was like to mention is there are not many NATO members or European nations who analyzed after the first war 2014 and the results of the summit of Wales to fulfilling the requirements NATO stated up, and Hungary is one of, I don't want to mention the others, but Hungary is really in this position that was following it. It made the changes. It made their own strategic analysis and set up in 2016 this Srini program. Other nations were talking about it, but not really bringing it forward. And that is, on the other hand, a positive effect, because the start of the defense industry was prior to 2022, and that gives also Hungary the possibility to be in a better position for the development of the defense industry, but also of their own defense forces. And
it's a comfortable position for business to be in, yes, because
yes.
When the factories are becoming online, and for Várpalota we're expecting already this year first output of 30mm ammunition, and then starting next year the 155. And if you've read the news over the last couple of years, really, the last 2 years certainly, 155 at the moment you can sell, 3, 4, 5 times. So this is a really comfortable position because of the foresight of the Hungarian government in acting first when everyone else was still sleeping. Now the factories are coming online, and we are sure that the capacity that we planned, we enhanced in the process as well. But we can fill that capacity for the foreseeable future. And this is then a real win-win situation. We are eagerly awaiting these capacities to come online. We're working on full speeds with our partners in N7 and others. And this really highlights why this was a wise choice back then. It was a gamble in some respects as well. Yes? But I think it pays off, or it shows that it's now time to pay off.
A wise gamble, which is not something you always hear. I think the important thing you said there was enhancement, because you're slightly further down the road than Nobel. By you, I mean Rheinmetall, and so you have these 3 factories here, and you're developing those 3 factories. And I think
we're building new ones as well.
Okay, and which is the important point. And I think we want to. That's what I want to pursue next. So we've already heard that through N7 there's going to be involvement in developing the Panther, the KF51, and without asking you to give away state secrets. Although, I am a journalist, so if you want to give away state secrets, please feel free.
I'm well aware.
I felt the background briefing going on. So what's your view on developing new systems and capabilities here in Hungary? And I think especially, because that's something that interests our members a lot, in developing capacities and human capacities, and you mentioned that earlier, within the Hungarian universities. So how do you see that path developing? We'll start with you, Paul, and then we'll go to Joachim.
It's a complex question. Obviously, to develop a new weapon system like a main battle tank it's a system made up of countless subsystems and countless technologies that each have developed decades. So we have spent decades in Germany and other nations in the West building up. So what we did, and we are very thankful for N7 to being open to that, we have identified sort of the gaps, the next step you need, especially when it comes to networking capabilities and system design. That we think we can build up rather quickly, because obviously, and this is understandable and justified, the Hungarian government wants to see participation in this. At the same time, if I try to transfer gun knowledge, for example, or protection, this would take 5 to 10 years to get up to even close to the level that we have. We are a 130-year-old company. We've been building guns for 130 years. Ups and downs, we had to pause for a while, but so this isn't a quick win you can realize. So you have to really see what can you do, where is the need that we don't have at the moment in the technology base in Germany, or it's not as far developed as we want it to be, And then we take a look into the future and we focus on building up these capabilities here. So it is almost impossible to build a weapon system like this from scratch without the knowledge. And building up the capabilities would take decades. And obviously realizing the political need to have a quicker return of invest than decades, I think we had to sit together around the table and map out what capabilities we can build up quickly and how are these capabilities going to develop over the next 5 years. And this is what we did.
Just to follow up very quickly on that before we come to you, Joachim. One of the things that German businesses have been particularly good at doing is developing the so-called dual education models. So are you actually getting involved with the Hungarian universities and saying, okay, this is where we're missing knowledge, this is where we need to try and develop knowledge? Are you getting
very much so, yes, very much so. Of course, we're doing it locally in Zalaegerszeg, Várpalota, and so forth to meet the needs, immediate needs that we have on these sites. But beyond that, I have my colleague here who's running the business here in Budapest, focusing on software development. And this is something, trying to get a software developer in Germany at the moment, good luck. Yeah? You might find one, but you need 50. And so we have decided to settle up a base for this here in Budapest. And we are really we realized very quickly that the applicants we have, the quality and the number, far surpass those in Germany. So yes.
Thank you. Joachim.
I think due to the fact that I was under heavy pressure and asked multiple times, how is it going? We get so little information. I will give a little bit step by step. So our approach to Hungary was to do or get over to Hungary in 3 phases. Phase number 1 was a transfer of technology, which is in our case basically a launch tube production. That launch tube production is making 90 and 110 millimeter systems. That will be delivered to the German company. So it's more or less a supplier, and it's building up, as mentioned before, capabilities, training people, installing skills and stuff like that. The intention of that is rough to have a support that is enabling Germany to double the productions on the recoilless grenade weapons. So that is phase number 1. It will be a company which have 40 to 50 employees, and the location I was also asked, it will be disclosed soon. For me, more important than the location is early access around the change of the year, and then after the qualification we should be able to run the full production within the next year around summertime. So that is phase number 1.
May I just introduce what you were talking about to our guests who are not familiar with these launchers? He's talking about, on the name Panzerfaust, something in this shoulder-launched anti-tank weapon where you shoot rockets out of a tube to a tank to destroy it. Sorry.
Not ours. We have defense systems for that.
Yes.
It's always good to see sales going on all the time, isn't it?
That the best
Win-win.
point is we have it even inside our house ourselves.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, then let's come to the second phase. The second phase was changed because of reality, and now the second phase is for us R&D. R&D means to start to create 100% step by step Hungarian IPs. As it was mentioned before, it will not happen as fast as some people wish, and it will take time. And a result of this Hungarian IPs would then be the third phase, which will be for us the production of new products that are for the local as well as for the export market. So these are our plans.
Thank you, Joachim. Wolf, I think you wanted to follow up on that, didn't you?
Yeah, I would like to.
I need to leave now.
to step in. What I would like to mention is once again the great relationship what Hungary is here introducing, and especially the government, the cooperation between universities and industry. And we have the same in Germany too, cooperation with universities and industry. But we have in some states in Germany a special law for the universities that they are not doing developments, future developments with defense industry. It's forbidden.
I was going to say.
So,
yes.
and just stop. Not all the time. And I would like to mention that a couple of weeks ago, Bavaria changed the university law and is now following the same things how Hungary is doing it here. And I think that's a great benefit, because we have in a lot of areas, and Rheinmetall is a really good example for this. And Paul, you just can jump in with Szeged. And if we are talking about the cooperation of Rheinmetall with laser technology in Szeged, so this is a positive example where you have a dual use also for military and defense, which is enhancing security of a state, and also development for private business or for civil use of these entities and new developments.
I was going to say that yes, we have on mechatronics, mechanics, electricians, we have good cooperations with universities, and always had in Germany. This is one of the strengths of the German so-called dual education system. When it comes to defense technologies, though, for the last 30 years, we have been shunned from German campuses. And that's why it was very refreshing for us to find that here it's quite the opposite. Here I have universities calling me up every day talking about what would we want to see in their curriculum to develop the kinds of engineers, the kinds of software developers that they need. So this was something that is part of the ecosystem. But ecosystem is more than universities, the government, and industry. It's also supply chain. And I'm kind of waiting for us to talk about that. So
We'll get there.
And I will come now through this. So we have now two big German defense industry companies were settled down here in Hungary. What are your first experiences in setting up this business, setting up these production facilities? How is your experience in getting the right workers you need, the right technical spirit people to join you to develop something here? Was it easy? How was the support? And what were the challenges? And please, this time, Joachim, start.
Yeah, I think that's a good approach, because we are just at the beginning, and in addition to what was said before, it's not only a question of the support, it's also a question of mindset if you want to get people. I remember the times back, especially after the Cold War, where you ask as a company, maybe a drone company, to make pictures of your company, and the answer was simple: we don't work for defense. So we are very happy to find in Hungary another mindset also in the population. Up to now we have a very limited amount of employees, but it was not hard to recognize after what we call in German Vollbeschäftigung, that in Germany as well and as in Hungary it will be very difficult to get employees. So we had very funny meetings, and we fast found out that we have to be very flexible and creative, which is, in my opinion, either way not a mistake for the future. And the human resources will be the critical part. So in our case, this means we have to find till end of the year 40 to 50 employees with an interesting mix. I think Rheinmetall would be happy if they only need that amount of people. And the next point is we have to train them. So we will be quite filled with fantasy to create models, how we make it happen, that you get them to Germany, and it's one point to find them, but the other point is to keep them. And yeah, that is what we are currently busy on with the first phase regarding that. For the second phase, we already in discussion. We also started to talk to universities, but like Paul mentioned, this is a long-term process and it will not fall from one year to another. So a few steps behind.
Paul, we just heard from Joachim that Dynamit Nobel Defense Hungary is just in the stepping in phase in setting up these things. But Rheinmetall has the experience already with a facility in Zalaegerszeg, a brand new production facility for heavy weapon systems. We can say for different entities of weapon systems. How was the experience of Rheinmetall there for setting up this?
Yes, Zalaegerszeg was our first venture into Hungary, and it was also envisioned to be one of the largest size in terms of manpower. And we were surprised, to be honest. We thought it would be more difficult. We are now at roughly 200 people. We'll grow up to 300 by the end of this year. And we were positively surprised to find that we didn't really have problems finding people. Now that we're at a stage where we will massively increase our engineering capacity and manpower, and we foresee some challenges there, simply because we have pulled the resources that are available around Zalaegerszeg already. So now we have to venture out more. We're going into Győr, we're going into Budapest, and attracting people there. So location is key. We don't have these the same challenges, I would say, although they're minor in Budapest or in Várpalota. And Szeged, I assume, will be the same. We're starting the hiring process there at a low level. So it was surprisingly easy. But we are in a market where labor costs don't account much for the price of my product. So labor costs is something where I am able to pay a bit above the market. Now, don't worry, we will not ruin the prices here. We are very careful not to do that. But labor costs, energy costs make up a fraction only of the prices of our products. That's why we have it easy, I would say, yes.
If I may add one thought to this topic, labor costs and human resource recruitment, I see some opportunities here. So if we are considering our Hungarian traditional automotive industry and the European automotive industry, we see some threats over the traditional automotive industry. And this could be an enabler for the defense industry, which is just ramping up, not locally, but Europe-wide, hopefully. And maybe this could be a motivation for a young engineer who wants to work on exciting and interesting topics. I just see some opportunities here. Of course, it is not that simple, but I think that's an opportunity.
Oh, we see that, definitely. And one advantage that we here have as Rheinmetall in Hungary is, of course, media coverage. As we are heavily covered by Hungarian media, we see Hungarian engineers learning about the Lynx, learning about, so of course it's a governmental strategy as well to promote the armed forces, the modernization of the armed forces, and in many ways we are very fortunate that one of our products is sort of the poster, literally on the poster child for this modernization program, and that attracts a lot of young people. So we got a lot of universities reaching out to us saying there was interest by the students to engage with Rheinmetall. And this helps us a lot. Yes, this will decrease over time, I assume, because it will be more normalized, you could say. But at the moment, and in this crucial phase where we are indeed looking for a lot of people countrywide, we expect by the end of 2025 to have 1,000 employees. We're at roughly 350 to 400 now. We have a long way to go, and we're counting on continued media coverage, continued support from universities and the government. But with this, we are quite confident that we can fill those positions.
Yeah, I suppose, in a sense, there's a virtuous circle going on here, where it's, as Wolf mentioned, we have this mindset, and you mentioned as well, we have this. There's a different mindset here that people are prepared to get involved, and then you've got the government backing it and literally putting pictures of the Lynx or the battle tanks up on posters, and so it's kind of like, oh, thanks for doing my advertising. But it's, I guess the challenge comes for you, and this is something that we hear a lot from not just the German chamber, all of the chambers, is that as your time in Hungary lengthens, you become increasingly aware of the fact that Hungary is blessed with full employment, which is a challenge that not many countries have to deal with, but it's a challenge nonetheless. And that leads you back to this circle where you're feeding into the universities to find these people. So that's the human resource. But we do know that something that the German Chamber membership have been particularly interested in is quite frankly how do their businesses get involved with your businesses. We had in fact we've had several questions from members asking that exact question, and we know that N7 Peter has previously held meetings with potential sponsors. So I guess we'll ask all three of you this question. If we're a German-Hungarian SME, we want to get involved in the value chain. How do we do that? How do we make contact with you? Do we take your business card here and phone you up, or are there events that you are? Or yes, says Peter. So take his business card, ladies and gentlemen.
I forgot my
Really good
business
question.
cards.
Or are you organising events to match make with what's out there?
Should I? Should you? Shoot.
If you don't mind, I would start and then hand over. So,
He's my shareholder. I have to do that.
only the minor. Yes, so I think this question was the most likely which the distinguished guests are looking forward. You're right, we are running some conferences. We were running some conferences, especially in last year's November, when the Minister of Defense announced the Hungarian Supply Chain Development Program, and N7 is handling it right now. So basically, currently we are in the ramping up phase and doing a manual job right now. Several aspects are there, but the main pillars are: get in touch with our partners, understand their needs, understand their requirements. Set up a list of the Hungarian potential suppliers, because there was no such a list. So, God of 21st century's data, and we didn't have the data. We are setting up this list. We are doing the matchmaking with the partners. We know the need, we know the capability, trying to do this matchmaking, but one by one manually currently. Of course, there will be some subsidies, but the focus is not on that. So rather than giving fish, we would like to give a stick and teach how to fish. That's the mindset from our side. And the plan for the near future, I mean this year, next year, is to initiate an online platform where easy to register, give clear requirements, what is the minimum level in order to consider a company as an industry supply company. We are helping them, mentoring the companies, and for the future we are going to organize regularly events when these matchmaking activities can happen. Even we are going to start, I think, next month or after the next month, so it is soon. But right now it is clear, and I'm transparent on that. It is a manual job, and we are just in the ramping up phase. We didn't have time to consider all of the applicants. And how to get in touch with us? Actually, as you can, give me a name card, contact us, contact N7, or contact directly our partners, who can either direct to us, or you can have direct connections. It is not a must for us to get involved.
Yeah, may I step into this, because that's a key thing at the moment. If you start business in a foreign country, you need the support if you are looking for local suppliers. And the interest of the government normally, and I think of all government, is get as many local suppliers for the business you have in your country or for the production sites you have in your country. When you're setting up something new like defense industry, you cannot expect that everybody has the big knowledge on how to set it up. I think where, and I say it as we, also belonging to the Ministry of Defense as an advisor, we need to be better in this area, and we need to have more cooperations, maybe with the German Chamber, because they have a lot of experience in setting up these events. They know what is required for suppliers or for the SMEs. They have a better understanding, and I think what we have to reflect ourselves with N7 also is how we can make this business better to support the industry which is coming into Hungary in a better way, that they have an easier startup, and that we can support our local industry in a better way, that they can join into this business too. And I think that's one point where N7 will also have a look in what cooperation we could make with other expert groups, chambers, to develop this better.
I have a slightly different view on that. We have organized supplier meetings as Rheinmetall. Twice here in Budapest, we've had 400 companies show up each time, and the benefit for us out of that was minimal. For a simple reason, the defense industry is a very peculiar industry, with rules, with standards, with strange standards, fragmented standards. There are some standards set by NATO, but large companies like BAE Systems, KMW, Rheinmetall, and others sort of have over the decades developed their own standards as well. So we find that the regulations, the standards, the qualifications needed to be active in defense are far away and not really connected to the automotive industry. Of course, there's some ESOs and the usual subjects, but there are quite a number of others, and that take time and investment to reach. And therefore, we could, for some non-production materials, we could easily get Hungarian suppliers, and we have, and we realize that we can achieve cost savings throughout that. So our interest in gaining more Hungarian suppliers is massive. I mentioned before that labor costs and energy costs don't concern me. Material costs do. Yes. So if I can realize 20-30% cost savings on those, be my guest, give me your card, let's go. We've gathered a lot of cards. It's not a big country in Hungary. Yeah. So I realize that you want data, and that the events like that are good to network. In the end, we know the potential suppliers. We might not know everyone, but we know they're out there. They know how to reach us. They frequently do. Now, what I'm interested in is to show them a path to get active in this industry. And this starts in multiple layers. And I fully support the supplier development initiative started by N7 and the Ministry of Defense by showing people a path, introducing them to the regulations, maybe even providing a helping hand, be it a free consultancy or whatever you want to do for them, to show them the path, the investment required, the time required to achieve these qualifications. At some point, they will be fully aware of what they need to do, and then it's investment time. And defense industry, dealing in low volume but high profits, is again peculiar, because industries or suppliers also need to adapt to that. If you're coming from the automotive industry, for decades you've set up your business in a completely different way. Yeah? And now producing 20, 30 or 100, even 200 of something in the defense industry, that's a lot. 200 for us is a series, not a pre-series, not an R&D type. It's 200 for us is a series. So you need to know that, and you need to adapt your business accordingly. This is not easy, and it will take time, and it will require investments. And that's why I was positively surprised when I saw that the Ministry of Economy here also realized that they would need to do their part. And they are starting capital funds, defense funds, that want to support small and medium-sized enterprises in making these investments, sometimes by grant, but mostly by providing capital through other means, maybe even gaining a stake from the government in smaller minority stakes in these companies. So there are multiple mechanisms they're talking about at the moment, and what I would like to request from you, Peter, is that you closely align, because it is correct to have multiple layers in such a development program from the government. What I would like to see is clear interfaces between the Ministry of Defense and the Ministry of Economy, that these two programs don't create a gap that is too big and too wide for suppliers to overstep.
Fair enough.
I think I can support this by a practical example. So if we have people here, of course, with companies who want to make and sell something, if I use too many secret terms, Wolf will translate or play them. As I mentioned before, we have for the first phase the 90mm and the 110mm system, and I think Paul described it quite well. The 90mm system is a fielded system. And if you have something like that and you have the government quality system in this, it is not easy to change anything. So you have to ask the customers, and it's a complex process. The other example for us is the 110, which is in use.
Could you elaborate on what that means? Because I think that's a key point. Changing a supplier for you means you having to re-qualify the system.
Yes.
You have to go to every customer that you've ever sold this to and saying, if you order more, please accept this re-qualification with a different supplier. Yes, so getting a new supplier on board and replacing an existing one is quite a cumbersome process. Yes.
So the keyword is Güteprüfer in German, GQAR. The other example for us is the 110mm system. That is a new system. And in this case, I can say, I think the one or the other might be also here, we are already in contact with some suppliers from Hungary, and we try to include them, which is at the beginning a more or less easy process. It, of course, has to do with the certification, but also, like mentioned before, the numbers here are different. We are not selling 300,000 of cars in 1 year, so the numbers are smaller. And then, of course, the wish of everybody is looking for frame contracts to have reliable numbers for a defined future. But for us, a great example is the fielded system and the new system. I hope this is helping a little bit.
Yeah, and finally, I would summarize it a little bit. Paul, you are not on a total different way. If I summarize it in this, it's very difficult to get suppliers in a running system which is already developed, which is already has their qualifications, as Joachim just mentioned, with the quality requirements, etc., etc. That's really difficult to get new suppliers in. But it would be for the future, for the R&D projects, what we are looking to develop here too, on local products to export it. That's I think that's the big chance for Hungarian suppliers to join in, to get the right qualifications, to prepare themselves to join in these new projects, because that's much easier than for as we are looking for the Lynx, to be part of the supplier system of the Lynx, which has to re-qualify it, etc., etc. So at the end, there is a great possibility for Hungarian SMEs to join in. For future projects, it's easier. For running projects for already existing weapon systems with new technologies, it's more difficult. And it's now with N7 and other partners like the German Chamber to develop a nice concept in cooperation between all the different ministries to really have one intent and one strategy how they would like to introduce Hungarian suppliers into this system. But I think we are running in time, and I might suggest, Robin, that you take over for questions out of the auditorium here to summarize and see if there are questions here too.
Yeah, because I think the questions that we had in mind are probably a bit technical anyway. So let's throw open the floor to you guys at this stage, because this is the part that I think we find most often is what gives you, as members of the German Chamber, added value. So, are there any questions? You've heard already the quality of the guests that we've got gathered here, and you've learned why we've got Wolf as the co-moderator. So, are there anyone who... Okay, we have a question over there.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is András Sávos. I have a comment and one question. So, to you, yeah, hi. So, in the last 20, 30 years, Hungarian industry had to adapt itself to different standards. So, to automotive, to rail, to space, to air industry. So, don't underestimate our capabilities, whether are we ready or are we willing to adapt ourselves to your industry, because I think that your industry, I don't know how to say, unfortunately or luckily, is an attractive one. So that's despite of the fact that you have low volumes, but what does it mean low volume, yeah? So the 200 pieces should be okay if the price is also okay. So
It is.
yeah, exactly. That's the point, yeah? So therefore, I want to just give the feedback that we try to not underestimate your industry and ourselves. So just feel free to challenge the Hungarian industry and the SMEs. Yeah, this is number one. The question is to N7. Yeah, that for the Hungarian industry, it would be great to have, let me say, a roadmap. Yeah, that how to build up these capabilities, and we do not want to wait another 30 years for that. Yeah, that's the point here. But we don't have. Yeah, that we can't see that we are in touch. Yeah, regularly, and therefore I'm also challenging that please speed up. Yeah, because we do not want to miss this opportunity. Sorry for saying, but now that the world is full with opportunity to your industry. Yeah? So the question is that how are you going to speed up this roadmap?
As the question just arises, I cannot give you a straight answer, but the message is clear, and we will focus on that. But to speed up, coming back to the roadmap, so as I mentioned, creating the online platform and make it available and easy access to everyone, that would be the first step for this year. This could speed up, I think, but the message is clear and we will consider it.
I want to respond to that comment, obviously. Obviously, I apologize if it might have come across that I'm underestimating Hungarian industry. I assure you I do not. I'm trying to, of course, be provocative sometimes because I want Hungarian suppliers. I mentioned before that for the suppliers that we do have, they stabilize our global supply chains because it's not just for the Hungarian products that we're looking for Hungarian suppliers. We have massive challenges ahead in terms of ramping up capacity all across our Rheinmetall 140 or something Rheinmetall sites across the globe. So I am challenging you, and I'm poking a little bit to get things moving quicker. And I really like the question to the colleague here because I fully agree, and I want to offer some humble advice. I know this great Hungarian organization, government-owned, that works flawlessly. It's called HIPAA, and I think many in the room here know HIPAA. They're transparent. It's very clear what you need to do in order to get support from them, and the whole program they offer is online. You can look it up, and I'm joking again, being provocative. So, but this is something that I would hope for and expect as a Hungarian supplier. To get something of the transparency and the professionalism that HIPAA offers. I think HIPAA, for many of the people here in this room, is a good example of how they can voice their expectations, the criteria you have to meet, and if we could get something like this for Hungarian suppliers to enter the defense market, that would help us a long way.
Yeah, one very quick follow-up about the dangers of underestimating Hungarian mentality. These are the only people in the world who can enter a revolving door behind you and exit in front of you. So it's always worth it. Now we have a question, I think, from PwC, so buckle up, guys.
Thank you very much. My name is Tamás Lőcs. I'm heading up PwC in the region. Just to reflect a little bit on the supplier upgrade. So this is the #1 task ahead of the country right now. So how do we upgrade the Mittelstand, those smaller companies who would be ready to supply the bigger companies? And this is the most difficult task that the country has. There are all sorts of questions, mentality questions, what do I need to do question, whether I'm used to do this, whether I want to do things in an international way, whether I want to have the ISO certificate that I need, and a lot more certificates that I need in the defense industry. So many advisors, including PwC, are working on this, together with the government, together with the civil organizations, the toughest question that we have. Now, one practical question to you both, Paul and Joachim. If there would be some incentive for the switching costs, so if we get some of the guys to the level of your old suppliers, and then there would be a little incentive from the government side or from whatever source to ease your burden for switching to a Hungarian supplier, would that help? Would that be an idea? Thank you.
That's a very direct question, and of course it's hard to answer. I think the question is who does need that help? Does it be needed from our side, or is it more for the industry? And that is a tough question. I think everything that brings all these things together is helpful on that. And it also will, it will depend on the case. So 200 small parts, 200 big parts, and stuff like this. But I think it's an interesting point.
Again, I'm trying to be a little bit provocative. Does support from the government help? Sure. Will it get us where we need to be? I'm not sure. Because it's not a question of funding, of money. It's a question of gaining acceptance from other customers around the globe. And their respective quality departments in the armed forces, in the UK, in Spain, in Germany, or wherever. Also, I wouldn't overstate the significance of these costs. If I can realize cost savings, then I can factor that in, and if the outcome is still positive, which I assume it will be in most cases, then it still makes sense for me to go that step and approach the other customers and saying, listen, I've done a generation change, I've beefed up my supply chain, I've gathered some second sources for some of these material components, and this is their qualification, please do another check. Is another full qualification required? And in many cases, the governments might accept that, especially if they are working with a partner they have known and trusted for a long time that stands for quality.
In addition to that, I think the before mentioned long-term framework contract, maybe that would be a more helpful thing in order to plan an investment, to get a new supplier, and to bring reliability for a certain amount of time. Maybe that would be more appreciated than having short time some incentives or something like that.
Absolutely.
Gentlemen, thank you for the interesting discussion. My name is Gergely Gáspár. I would have a common question for you. You mentioned many times that the traditional Hungarian industries are slowing down, still pushing the brakes. And as we know and as we heard, your ramp up will happen in 2024, 2025, or so it goes on. And that will be the same ramp up phase of other quite interesting markets following this market transition, the green transition electricity, energy. So all of these industries will ramp up in the same time, and of course automotive will somehow, I think, get back on track. So we see a small light at the end of the tunnel. How can be defense industry more attractive in terms of manpower, in terms of suppliers? So what kind of benefits can you offer to the market? Because of course when companies, SMEs have to change their standards and they have to make a decision to turn towards the electricity or energy industry or to turn towards the defense industry, I think Hungary, the funds are not so stable to be able to focus on two sides on the same time. So of course it would be great and beneficial to have more legs, but what is the real benefit of joining the defense industry?
In my opinion, defense industry has a quite huge external motivation, which I fear is going to remain with us for years. So we can consider as a kind of stable market.
Correct. I would say that as well. I think generally margins in defense are pretty good, also for suppliers. The buying power of OEMs like Rheinmetall, although I wish it was greater, is not as great as in the automotive world, where I don't need to tell you how the automotive world works, but if you get called to Wolfsburg as a supplier, it's not a good sign, and it probably means that your profit margins are going to decrease after you leave. Now, this sort of massive pressure, and we know this as Rheinmetall, we are a tier 2 automotive supplier as well, for engine blocks and various other things. So we know both sides of this coin, and defense provides stability. Rheinmetall, as an OEM, has 35 billion euro order backlog. So we can, as a partner, I think we're a pretty stable and long-term partner, and this is, I think, very attractive as well.
Thank you, Paul. Do we have any other questions? Right here in the center.
Robin, just one remark on this. But we all have to bear in mind, if you would ask me this question 2 years ago, on the 22nd of February, 2022, you might have got a different answer, how the defense industry is looking into the future. What we have now is that entire Europe is leaking for 30 years, shrinking of these areas. All governments recognize that we lost key capabilities in these areas, that we are reluctant on other defense industries abroad. Example is Poland was buying tanks in South Korea, because in Europe this capability was not present on a production side. So what I will estimate for a future of the next 20 years, we will have really great business within this area, because we need these capabilities and we need to enhance the defense industry, and that will also be one big point on our conference end of April, looking onto this, how, because it's a dual ship, it's government, it's defense industry to ramp up these capabilities. It's not only the defense industry, so sometimes you have the blamings in Europe. Now we have 2 years ago since Russia attacked Ukraine, why the industry didn't do anything. Why does it take 2 years to build up or to start to build up ammunition factory? It's related also how the cooperation of the governments is there to support the defense industry and how the requirements of the defense industries are there. But looking for the future, I think we have really in this area a growing potential thing. And I'm looking on, if I look on the stocks of Rheinmetall, we do not have to talk about it. If I've had known it a couple of years before. Yeah, but that's if you're looking for a really answer on this, the situation right now, yes. But it depends also on the governments and how the future will be. But for the next 20 years, I think it's a good opportunity to invest in this area.
Your question, sir.
Yeah. Good morning, gentlemen. My name is Gellért Mencelkis from Leitner. I have the impression that you are more or less satisfied and happy in Hungary as investors, but my question is, what makes you unhappy in Hungary, or in a bit more gentle way, how should we improve as a country, economy, environment, or any other aspects to feel more comfortable, let's say, or to improve your business and your feelings about Hungary? Thank you.
We've had some provocative answers. It's lovely to have a provocative question. Thank you.
Love it.
Gentlemen, who would like to go first?
Paul is moving.
Yeah,
Paul?
that's-
Okay.
I like provocation. So, what don't I like about Hungary? So I think we talked about a lot about the corporation, government, and industry. I think there's not much to complain about, so I won't. I think when it comes to exports, and at the moment, of course, Ukraine is the largest source of imports of defense products. There, I think I would want some policy change, possibly. In the end, it's a political decision. We respect political decisions. We have been suffering from German political decisions not to export for many, many years, and we have survived. And that's why we fully understand that we always operate under the guidance and control of the governments that we operate in. Would I want to see Hungary embracing NATO more, and also future NATO members, and in this case Sweden? I think it would help. It would help us in defense cooperation, so government to government, military to military cooperation, where we do see, unfortunately, that Hungary, although it is a model student of NATO, reaching the 2% well ahead of many other countries, modernizing their equipments when others were still sleeping. So, and you're a model pupil on the one hand, but on the other, the others don't really want to play with you so much anymore. That's, I think, if we find some common ground and some movement in that would really help a long way, because it helps us as the industry that operates here to gather new export opportunities from Hungary. So if I host international delegations in Zalaegerszeg, in the most modern tank factory in the world, there's always a political element to that. And if the relations aren't fully supportive, or there's some doubt, then that hurts our business. But it's, I'm complaining on a very high level. Yeah.
Peter, do you want to add something? No, you definitely don't want to add anything.
For this, I'm not that relevant. I like Hungary at all.
Okay, yeah. So it's not that you don't want to say anything, it's you can't add anything. I understand.
Yeah.
Joachim.
Exactly. No, I can only say to all the points, yes. Maybe to give you a small example why it's so hard for Germany in the defense industry to complain. If somebody tells us you get a license in 60 days, this is unbelievable surrounding for German. So it's really hard, and it's really criticism on small details.
There's one more thing. I think but again, this is going into the nitty-gritty bits now of regulations, and we see that many regulations that have impact on the daily work that we have as defense companies here in Hungary have not been modernized for the last 30 years. That's data classification is one. I know N7 is on that, where sometimes things that are classified, and we do data sharing obviously between Germany and Hungary a lot, but also some of our other factories. And if something is classified as the minimum level of classification in Germany, there's a certain way you handle that data, even if it's a sheet of paper or electronic data. Here in Hungary, since regulation hasn't been updated, sometimes it is like you have to lock it in a vault and you can't really work with it. That creates some challenges in the everyday kind of work. So these things I foresee the government changing, but I would like to see quicker changes and quicker modernization of some of the regulation. Data classifications is one of them that regulates the everyday life of our business.
Thank you, Paul. I think we need to wrap it up there. There is... Okay, you've got the mic in your hand. One last question then.
Yeah. My name is Barnabas Tomka. I'm a defense consultant. And just one comment. We have received a massive feedback from the industry that there is opportunity in defense business. And still I have the feeling that the potential Hungarian suppliers, or maybe regional suppliers, are expecting the government to show direction and give support. However, becoming a supplier needs a decision and then investment from the company side. And it's a long journey, but there is the potential. So it should be considered whether it's worth just waiting for the government to give the direction, ramp it up, rather than do it and become a supplier, because there is the possibility. We have already had the experience. Rheinmetall is having its own Hungarian suppliers, and there is more chance, and that's the first opportunity to get the reference here in Hungary, and then go out to the market. So just a comment.
Thank you. Do you want to respond to the comment? Or not necessarily? Barbara. Yes. Excuse me.
Not an answer, but just a comment what you said. Yeah, the issue is that if Rheinmetall doesn't have its own supplier improvement program, or whatever you would call, I don't know, in this case, that we need somebody who is, let me say, engaging that direction. Because if I go now to Rheinmetall and I do not have a NATO certification, whatever, yeah, that they will not talk to me, and they will just say that, okay, just first let's gain it or have it, and after we can talk, yeah. And I think this bridge function, yeah, should be an N7, then which really can enhance, yeah, this direction. And this is my comment again. Just speed up, please, yeah, because we do not want to miss the opportunity.
Thank you, Andras. I think really we need to wrap it up now. So,
do you allow a last question?
What, you're the boss, so I always allow me.
Thank you. I've received a question from somebody else who would like to have a few words on arms export policy, which we haven't touched yet, how Hungary is implementing that, especially when you have German products involved.
Is that a question to the government?
To whoever has the answer.
Same question.
Yeah. Either Mr. Illner or N7.
This is an ongoing process. So not having the experience on exporting weapon systems out of Hungary right now. So this is a governmental analyzing process at the moment, how to do. And Paul was talking about it, that there are also some requirements already from Rheinmetall. If we look on ammunition, and we have customers like, for example, here in Ukraine, who wants and who needs ammunition for defending Ukraine. And then you have political decisions here in the country which are related to a position of foreign affairs, how the country is dealing with it. This is in the same way like it is also in Germany. You have in Germany also strict export relations. And that was a reason that, for example, a lot of defense industry companies left Germany and went somewhere else to enhance their business and to ensure their business. And we just had the talks between the British government and the German government related to the Eurofighter, which would be sold to Saudi Arabia. So that's also implications on export. And it's always a decision within the government which can be exported to whom or to not. And that's related, but also to the technical and the IP rights. So for example, we have equipment which will be produced here in Hungary with IP rights from Germany. Then Germany is not dictating, but Germany is playing the rules of the export. Where should it go, and etc., etc. And that will be different if you have set up productions here in Hungary with IP rights, so with developments which purely developed here in Hungary, then only the Hungarian government is responsible for the export rights and the rules of engagement, how to sell it and to whom. So this is the current situation on what is export, to whom could be exported. It is different than in Germany, and in Germany there we are just having an investigation or a renew of the export law between the Ministry of Economy, Mr. Habeck's ministry, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We even do not know in Germany where they are going. Paul.
For me, export is not a national question; it's a European question. From the face of it, the Hungarian export regulation is very similar to the German export regulation. It is very national, meaning that basically if you have a small part of your product coming from this country or having IPs originating out of this country, the government has the right to make a decision whether or not the final product is exported anywhere. And it's understandable. The problem is it's no longer practical. It's no longer practical in a world where also the defense industry is no longer a national industry. It's a minimum a European industry, but let's not go beyond, let's stay within Europe. So for Europe harmonizing these and having acceptance of each other's export decisions, or maybe even transferring them to a body in, well, I don't want to say Brussels, I'm not a fan of that, but having Strasbourg is not better. It's even from a German perspective, possibly worse. But harmonizing at least and finding ways for governments to jointly decide and to trust in each other's export decision. I think this would be the way forward, but that's not something Hungary can do alone. It's not even something that Germany can do alone. It's something that needs to be decided together.
Thank you for that, Paul. And thank you for your attention, ladies and gentlemen. I think the depth and breadth of those questions illustrates the point that this really is a matter that is of interest. So let me give a very quick summary, and I promise it will be quick because I know people are beginning to watch their times. Oftentimes, and this is particularly true of my profession, oftentimes we are critical of governments, and rightly so, I would say. But it's important, if you're going to be critical, that you also acknowledge when things have been done well. And I think one of the things that has come out from this is how prescient Hungary was in reacting to that initial invasion in 2014, and realizing that something had to be done and taking steps towards doing it. And nothing in life happens overnight, but the fact that they started to make those moves in 2014 and had rolled out a fully formed, although still evolving, program by 2016 is critical to where we are today. Secondly, mindset. It has not, I can't remember which one of our panelists said this, but it's not always easy. I think it was Joachim. It's not always easy working in the defense industry. People do not always want to. And I think it's interesting to hear German companies coming here and saying that the mindset is refreshing, that it is a different approach. I think I would add one other important thing, which is if you want to get involved in the defense business, we've heard that this is a business that, sadly or otherwise, but you know, we deal in realities. This is a business that has strong fundamentals going forward, at least for the next probably 20 years, 2 decades. If you have a business, that's not a bad time horizon to work on. There's a request that how you manage to connect yourselves with the defense industry could be speeded up, particularly how we find a roadmap that gets you there. If you're looking to jump on board products that are already being made, probably think again. If you're looking particularly in terms of R&D and Hungarian IP, then now is a very good time to start making contacts with N7, with our manufacturers here, with the German chamber, who can help you make those contacts. So there are plenty of opportunities out there. I'd like to thank each of our members. You've been provocative. I like that. But you've been engaging, you've been informative. Thank you very much. Wolf, thank you for lending your expertise. I would have struggled to have worked out Panzerfaust. I mean, I know what a Panzerfaust is, but I wouldn't have known that was what we were talking about. Bazooka, if in the words of my American cousin. And thank you to all of you for your... and he actually did know how to spell it as well, which was and pronounce it, which was good. Thank you for all of your input.